Welcome back to the Team to Beat Miami Heat podcast, your one-stop shop for daily Miami Heat content. So for today's episode, we're breaking down the latest Ja Morant trade rumors and how the Miami Heat fit into all of this. And most importantly, let's talk about if the Miami Heat should actually trade for him. So where things stand now, the Memphis Grizzlies are reportedly open to trading Ja Morant as the February 5th NBA trade deadline approaches. And it seems more legit that he can be traded now because there's been so many reports from legitimate sources. And ESPN says Memphis is entertaining offers now, actually, with draft picks and young pieces in mind for a return for Ja Morant. So Miami has been mentioned as one of the teams in the mix, and discussions internally about whether the Heat could provide an environment for Morant to bounce back, because we know all about his on-court and off-court issues and behavioral issues. So um, he has had his problems, and he's obviously not very happy right now with the direction of the Memphis Grizzlies team. And we'll see. I don't know. I don't think I'm a big fan of Ja Morant lately and the trajectory that he's been on in his career after the last few seasons. But one thing I do want to note is that NBA insider Zach Lowe basically said he has shot down some of the wild mock trades that are floating around, especially ones that massively overstate what Miami would give up for him. There was a mock trade that said the Heat would give up Wiggins, 2 picks, and Jaime Hawkins Jr., which I think is just entirely too much. Like giving up Andrew Wiggins and the multiple picks, I think is ridiculous and wouldn't make sense for the Miami Heat to do. Plus throwing in Jaime, who's having a very amazing bounce back year, one of the best sixth men in the NBA. So I don't think that totally makes sense. He said that he thinks that a package around Tyler Hero ultimately would probably make the most sense. And so that is going to be a whole nother topic to get into, which we won't for this episode. But right now, the rumor mill is active with Ja Morant, but there's no confirmed package or deal out there. It's all speculation right now. And in terms of Ja Morant, the player, he is still undeniably talented. He is a two-time All-Star. He is an explosive scorer and playmaker, and he was the franchise centerpiece for the Memphis Grizzlies while healthy. And he's averaged over 27 points per game, 26 points per game, 25 points per game. And we know he's been reliable in the past on the offensive end and as a playmaker. But this season, he's injured again. That is another big issue with Ja Morant, of course, is his durability. And he's averaging 19 points per game. That's the worst since his second year back in 2020. And he's still averaging 7.6 assists, 3.2 rebounds. His rebounds are down. This is the worst 3.2 since his rookie year when he averaged 3.9. So his rebounds are down. His points are definitely down. And his shooting is just atrocious this season. Like, literally, this is a guy who might have to depend on his athleticism, and he's someone who's always hurt because of that explosiveness and the way he plays recklessly, getting to the rim and finishing it at the rim and playing above the rim, trying to dunk on everybody. I mean, he's not doing that anymore, but he's shooting 40%, which is terrible because he's a career 46% shooter from the field. So his numbers have been going down. He was shooting 45% the year before, 47 after the year before that. So the 2-point percentage, finishing at the rim, like all of those numbers are down. And the number, which is atrocious, is that he's shooting sub 20% from three right now. So career worst numbers for him. Again, he's missed significant time. He's basically played 77 games in the last 3 seasons. So we complain about Tyler Hero being injury prone. Ja Morant is injury prone. He has never played 70 games in a season. I was complaining about Tyler last year, saying that Tyler had never played more than 65 games or whatever it was. Tyler Hero finally played 77 last year. Ja, 67 is the most he's ever played, and that was his rookie year in 2019. So he is someone that is going to perpetually deal with injuries, also based on his play style. The other things that I brought up earlier, but we haven't got into really, is his off-court issues, his suspensions, and all of that has happened in recent years, which does get factored into how teams value him. And with a strict type of culture, professional culture with the Miami Heat, they don't play that. And I don't think he would fit into that Miami Heat culture based on his past behavior and those suspensions. So if the Heat actually did trade for John Morant, it also wouldn't be simple as just plugging him in into our offensive scheme. Like the Heat likely would have to change their identity on offense because Miami isn't built around iso ball or heavy usage from one primary scorer, especially this season. So they thrive with strong spacing and cuts and movement, and Ja wouldn't fit into that system as well. And he also had the same guy build a offensive system last year for the Miami Heat, Noah, whatever his name is, had been a consultant with the Memphis, and they were doing the pace and space thing last season, and Jaw hated that. And the Miami Heat are playing with pace and space now. So that wouldn't sit right with John Morant. Like, why would he want to come play in this style of offense when we know he hates that? Defensively, upgrading the point of attack to Morant's strengths and covering his weaknesses could require tweaks as well. So we have to keep Andrew Wiggins and other, 3 and D type players because Ja Morant is also not a good defender. Not as bad as Tyler Hero, obviously, but he is small. He is undersized. He is not a great defender. He does not play with effort on that end. So adding Ja Morant, yes, he's a star technically, declining star at this point. I mean, he's still 26 years old, so he still has a lot of upside and potential. But he might not just fit in seamlessly with this Miami Heat roster if we do acquire him. So that is a challenge. But here are some pros just in general. If you add John Morant, you do get amazing playmaking ability. You do get a instant shot of the arm with athleticism and someone who could break down his opponent and finish at the rim theoretically. Like obviously those numbers are down now, but he does have elite ceiling still if he does return to all-star form, and can be an amazing scorer for this Miami Heat team if he wakes up essentially. The cons we've talked about already: injury risk, reoccurring injuries, durability, shooting struggles, especially this season. He limits floor spacing for sure. Like he's shooting 20% from three. That's horrible. He might disrupt the Miami Heat's current culture and system, like I said, based on his like suspensions and behavior on and off the court. So this would also another con. They want draft capital. Like they want young pieces and draft capital. I mean, they're going to ask for Jaime Hawkes. They're going to ask for Kasparis or Pella Larson or whoever. And Miami doesn't really have much draft capital. So are you willing to pay for someone who has a pretty high contract? He has 2.5 years on his deal, making, I'm sure, 40 plus mil at least a season. And he's going to not come off the books for 2.5 years. He's making 40 million this year, which is not crazy. But still, someone who's only going to give you 50 games a year, I don't know if that's worth that investment. Next season, he makes 42 and then 44, so it's not egregious. But still, sizable contract with Bam Adebayo making 50 next year. Jaw's going to make 42. That's 92 million of your cap just on those two players. But why would the Miami Heat want him? Obviously, he's a guy who is a former All-Star and someone that does have star potential. But also his athleticism, which is what made him a very elite scorer in the past, isn't what it was. And that's a big part of his game. And he might not age gracefully, especially because his shooting has been so rough. And it can continue to stay rough. And that's going to be an issue, though. But if he does bounce back, becomes healthy somehow, but he's never played more than 67 games. So, like, how much health can we get from him or expect from him? But anyway, if he does bounce back to his all-star form, that's an elite talent that can change a franchise. That's a big if. So we'll see. But if we can get it for cheap, there's been reports saying maybe you throw in Terry Rozier and filler, perhaps, and a one draft pick. Maybe it's worth taking a flyer on to see if you could rehabilitate him, perhaps. But I don't know. I'm not really sold on it unless it's like a cheap deal and you get Rozier's expiring contract. If it's eligible to be traded, who knows if he can even get traded this season. But for me, the Heat would be taking a real big gamble here, and I'm not sure the reward outweighs the risk given how their current roster is structured. I don't know. Let me know. What do you guys think? Like, I'm not really a big fan of Ja Morant, especially of late. Like those shooting numbers are atrocious. His athleticism is declining, which is not a good sign for someone who depends on it, basically. So again, if it's for a horrible package like how we got Norman Powell, like trading K Love and Kyle Anderson, like then sure. Like if it's for nothing, then sure. But someone's going to take a flyer on Ja. He's not Trey Young. Trey Young is way worse, I think, in my opinion, than Ja Morant. Even though he's a way better shooter, but his defense is so bad. Trey Young's that is compared to Ja Morant. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, let me know. I'll keep you guys posted if there's any more updates around Ja and the Miami Heat. So thank you again, and make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.